Welcome to the Tuning In podcast, where we talk alignment, intuition, and our internal guidance system. We cover woo-woo topics in an approachable and practical way. I'm your host, Dana Evans of Alignful.com. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Tuning In podcast. This is episode 51. And I forgot that last week was episode 50 and I didn't celebrate it. 51. That is so exciting. That means 51 weeks of podcasts. Can you believe that? Oh my gosh. That means I'm how many weeks are in a year? That means that next week's episode is our 1-year anniversary. Holy guacamole. I am pretty sure I have recorded an episode every single week for a year. Whoa, that's all I can say because, look, I'm just going to share with you guys, consistency has always been a little troublesome. I don't know if it's my my Enneagram 7-ness, or just me, but doing something regularly, especially in like regular intervals, like every week, every day, has always been a bit challenging. So I put off starting a podcast for quite a while because I didn't know if I could hack it. I didn't know if I could show up every week, and I didn't want to be flaky, right? I didn't want to be willy-nilly about this. It was something that I cared about and wanted to commit to. And oh my gosh, almost an entire year. And I'm actually celebrating this now because next week I am going to pre-record next week's episode because I will be out of town. So yeah, this is one of my favorite things that I do in my business. And I'm pretty sure I've shared that before. And the funny thing is, as it stands, my podcast does not bring in money. In fact, it costs me money every week to produce this. And I have an amazing editor, shout out to PJ, and my VA helps me put together the quotes. Shout out to Kyler. I obviously pay her for that, and the emails that you guys get and the audio clips. Like, all I do is sit down and record, and then I write the description, and then I send that out to my people and they make everything else happen. So this costs me money in my business to do, and yet it's also my favorite thing that I do because I feel like you, my listener, you probably get the most insight into my life through these episodes than any other medium that I use. You know, I love Instagram stories. I do Instagram posts. I send emails. And we, of course, have my membership, the Tuning In membership. But of all of that, this medium is definitely the one where I feel most at home. I feel that I can share honestly with you all. I am most myself here and really no holds barred. So I so appreciate just the fact that anyone listens. In fact, I was just on the phone with a friend and she said, "Oh, my sister told me that for a while she was listening to your podcast at evening to kind of calm down in the evening." And I said, "What? Your sister listens to my podcast?" Here's the deal, guys. This is a very one-way street. So like I sit down by myself in my room with, well, Mia's here usually, and I record something, from my heart, whatever's on my mind, whatever's on my heart, whatever I'm going through at the time. And then I send it out, right? It goes onto Instagram, it goes onto all the podcast apps. We send an email to y'all. But often, I don't know if anyone's listening. If I don't know if you're listening, I don't know who you are necessarily listening. And unless I get feedback directly, which happens, which I love in Instagram, like in DMs, I love it when people tell me that they've listened or tag me on Instagram at Dana_Evans and share. Like, all of that is so amazing, but you don't know who you're talking to if they don't tell you, right, that they're receiving what you're saying. So it just meant the world to me to hear that my friend, her sister was listening. And it's such a reminder that, especially as a small business, right, it's just me. I have PJ and Kyler and myself. And so much of what we do, you don't know if you're affecting anyone, if you're impacting, if the message matters, and if it makes a difference, which of course is why I'm here. And so when someone shares, and if anyone, like when they respond to an email, right, you might read an email and like it, but it would never occur to you to respond, right? Because you think, oh, well, it's a business. Well, no, guys, it's me. Honestly, if you respond to an email, you're responding to me. I get that email. And, I wrote that email usually. So it really makes a difference just to hear from people. And I'm not saying you have to tell me that you're listening, but I just want you to know that it makes a difference. One, that you are listening, it means the world. And two, when I hear from people that, something I said resonated or it mattered or they shared it with someone that they care about, it really matters to me. It really makes the work that I'm doing hit home more, because that's why I'm here. It's what I care about. It's what I love. And it's so cool, right? To be able to speak. I speak here and then people get to hear it from wherever. So I guess that's our intro. This week, that's our 6-minute intro. My preemptive 1-year celebration. But this week I am talking about what to do when you don't feel like doing the work. What's the work, you ask? The inner work, the work that I teach, connecting to your inner voice, journaling, meditation, all the things that we know we should do. What to do when, you don't really feel like doing that. And should you push through? Should you force yourself to do the work? Should you wallow? What should you do? And why am I sharing this? Obviously, because it's something I'm dealing with right now. So, without further ado, get a little insight into this week's episode, into my mind of what I do as a teacher of inner voice work, and so much of this like self-reflection work, what I do when I don't feel like doing the work and when I feel like hiding, which is how I have felt today. Here's this week's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Tuning In Podcast. I am your host, Dana Evans. Dana rhymes with Banana Evans. And it's so interesting. I'm actually already feeling a bit better than I was earlier today. But look, I know any moms out there are going to roll your eyes, but I'm not a mom and I'm used to a lot of sleep. And the last 2 nights, I haven't slept well. And so this morning I woke up, it's Monday, and I just felt down, really down. And the word I use when I'm feeling this way is punk. I made that word up. Like you're in a funk, right? But I don't know why I say punk, but I was feeling punk and really quite blah. And, like a little bit of that depression feeling where it's just this heaviness for no reason in particular. I mean, I had a really great day yesterday. I made delicious pizza, if you saw it on my Instagram account, for dinner. And I had spent the day with my parents and we just had so much fun and we were laughing. And I got some great groceries, got home, had a great evening with John. Like on paper, everything was good. But in the evening, I just felt ugh. And then I went to bed. My mind was running and, of course, berating me. And as I was falling asleep or trying to fall asleep, I was laying there thinking, God, I need to talk to my inner voice about this. Like, what's going on? Like, I would expect myself to be feeling better right now, considering all things. And yet I feel kind of down. I feel kind of punk. I feel kind of sad. What's the deal? And guess where my mind went? What's wrong with me? Oh, I hate asking ourselves that question. What's wrong with me? But there I was asking the question, witnessing what the hell? Why am I feeling this way? And thinking, I need to talk to my inner voice. And then what did I do? I didn't talk to my inner voice. I sat in the pain of my mind, because it was my mind that was causing me so much problem. It was telling me I'm a bad coach. I'm bad with money. I shouldn't have had a Negroni last night. I probably shouldn't have made pizza. I shouldn't be going on this trip next week. Can you resonate with that? My mind was being such a bully last night. And that's so interesting, and that I know what to do with that. Every time my mind acts up, every time that I go to my inner voice when that happens, it makes me feel so much calmer. It totally changes things for me. And yet there I was, unable or unwilling to go inward. So I kind of suffered in the evening, and then I didn't sleep well. And I woke up feeling yuck, feeling sad, feeling down, feeling like I had zero energy. And it was hard. And I'm sitting there thinking, I know what to do. I should talk to my inner voice, and I just don't want to. I feel like a block that's preventing me from doing this. So what do? And this is a really good question, because I talked about this before and people ask me, but what do you do when you don't feel well? Honestly, a lot of people will tell you what to do when you don't feel well. They'll have lots of tools and tips and practices. And look, I love all of them. I'm all for that kind of thing. For some people, it's like dancing. I've had actually quite a few friends tell me, like, when I feel really crappy, I dance. For some people, they'll tell you to meditate, might tell you that too, or to journal, and to get into your feelings, right? To go inward, to examine them, and to see what it is so you can get through it. And here's my take. Take it or leave it, as always. But when I don't feel great, like when I'm feeling down, do you know what I do? I feel down. I allow it to be, at least for a few days. And here is why. And this is why I wanted to get on this episode, because trying to basically say, what's wrong with me? I need to get through this emotion. Like, let me dance, let me meditate, let me move and shake, let me talk it out. Those things, listen, I am not telling you not to do those things. They're massively effective. Like, there's no question. If you do those things, it's likely going to help shift your vibration and lift your mood. But I would also offer that just because you wake up not feeling great, it doesn't mean you need to change your mood. Because the nature of saying, well, you need to do these things when you're not feeling good so you can feel better, implies that it's not okay to feel down, to feel a little funk, to feel a little punk, to feel a little sad. That we need to move through that feeling quickly so that we can get to the other side. And I honestly am more of a practitioner. Now, I used to, try to get myself out of the feeling, but now I am much more of a practitioner of just being with the feeling. Now, what I was doing last night, by the way, was not the right way for me to be with the feeling. What I was doing is noticing how I felt and then fighting and resisting it and thinking there was something wrong with me and being upset, and then thinking I'm a fraud because I teach inner voice work and I can't talk to my inner voice and what's wrong with me and I shouldn't have to feel this way. Okay, that's not being with the feeling. That is fighting the feeling. That is resisting the feeling and then also not doing anything about it. That's like a double whammy. But what happened today was I just was aware of the heaviness that I felt within. And I did do a little reflection. And I thought, you know what this likely is I'm just coming down from a really big push for the launch. I spent about 4 weeks of being like high, like super high, super go energy. I took care of myself. I actually did quite a good job at taking care of myself during the launch, but that's just a lot of energy output for me. And if you've listened to any of the past 2 podcast episodes about human design, a projector, which I am, we do not generate our own energy. So we actually can literally just run out of energy. It's like you're running on fumes. And what I was reflecting on is that I bet I'm still recovering from that 4-week push. And it was actually, truthfully, I've been busy since 3 weeks into quarantine. My life kind of started being really full and there was like a lot. And then the launch kind of was the tail end of that. And so I realized that me feeling down, it's not that there's a wrongness to feeling this way, but rather a purpose, right? We're secular humans and we're not meant to be on all the time. We're not meant to have the gas pedal pushed down all the time, full throttle. And the funny thing is that we often assume that like a little break is enough to recover from the amount of time that we've spent going. So I spent a good 4 weeks of like on full throttle. And then I went away for 5 days, or really 4 days away. And I was not very able to relax. I couldn't quite unwind. And yet I realized unconsciously, like last week, I was very tired. Every day I was tired. I'm like, oh, why am I so tired? And then it hit me today and yesterday feeling down. Well, that's because I didn't deal with the feelings of tiredness. Okay, so I was feeling tired last week. I'm like, God, why am I tired? I should be tired. I just had a little break. I just had 4 days off. Why am I tired? So instead of asking my body why I'm tired, my mind was like, why am I tired? I shouldn't be tired. Instead of tuning in to the feeling of tiredness, what is this asking of me? I just kind of wrote it off and kind of rolled my eyes, annoyed that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And because I didn't listen to that feeling, it got more, right? It got more intense. So I went from feeling tired to feeling down, to feeling sad, to feeling punk, which is where I'm at today, and having no energy today. And that's when it got me thinking. I actually had a full day. I was on the phone for like 4 hours straight talking. My voice is actually a little raspy. And then I had another hour call. So I literally have been talking for almost 5 hours today. And I wasn't going to do this episode, but it felt more authentic to sit down and record it today. It's 6 p.m. here at the end of the day, because this morning, what I realized is I don't want to push through and transform this feeling. I just don't want to. I feel kind of down. I feel tired, and I just want to allow that to be, because I know that that is a sign from my body that I need to chill a bit, to take the foot off the gas. And to transform the feeling is a possibility. I could do the things, but it is not what I feel is in alignment with what my body needs right now. I don't need more energy. There's no need for me to have a vibrant, intense, powerful energy right now. I can be in the lull, right? I can be at the low point of the wave. I rode the high point of the wave. I surfed it. And now it's time for the low point. It's time for the pause, the reflection, the slow, and yes, even the feelings of sadness. That's okay. It's okay to have these feelings. It's okay to feel down. I'm telling you this as much as I'm telling and reminding myself of this. It's so easy to lose sight, especially in our current world of being on social media, lose sight of the fact that we don't have to feel the same every day. And we certainly do not have to have the same energy every day. And even more so, if you're a projector, you really don't have to have the same energy. And when we, instead of trying to change the emotion, when we allow it to be and be with the emotion, that is another way for it to transform on its own. So what I like to do, I'm using that term really lightly, when I feel this way, because here's the deal, I also know myself. I might feel this way for a few days, a week, or whatever. And I usually can know when there's a time or point that I need to address it, right? Do something about it, right? Do some more meditation, do some journaling. But this has just been a day and a half. But it's so interesting how that immediate thought was, you got to do something about it. But when you are being with your emotions, here's the thing. I teach this, and we talk about emotional clearing a lot on this podcast, and in the Tuning In membership there's a whole module about emotional clearing and our emotions. Being with the emotion, the feelings that you're experiencing, being present with them and speaking to them is really powerful. So today I didn't feel like doing that, but what is happening as the day has kind of wound down, and like I'm done with my things and all the talking and all the doing, which had to happen. Now I can just feel. And what I love to have each of us do is, when you're feeling this way, when you're feeling any way, truthfully, it can be anger, frustration, sadness, some sort of depression, anxiety, pause. You don't have to do all the work, right? The inner work. You don't even have to do that much. But if you just give yourself a minute, and I'm closing my eyes now because I'm doing this as I'm even speaking to you, and you go into your body, and you can just do a scan with an exhale and just do a little scan. Where is there a little tightness? And for me, it's right around my solar plexus, which is actually very interesting because that's also where I feel the most power and inspiration when I'm doing work that I love. So it's feeling a little tight there. And then you can just go to that place. And literally the only thing you need to do is breathe. You can place your hand there in your body. Send your awareness and attention. And you can say, I am here. I am listening. Is there anything I need to know? I just heard you are protected, you are safe, you are loved. Your inspiration is not here, and it doesn't need to be feared. We love for you to ebb and flow so that we can always guide and show what becomes possible when you lean in and trust that there is nothing wrong. And you can just be with that. It's okay if you don't hear anything. That was my inner voice sharing to me. It has more to share, but I'm cutting it off so we can do this podcast episode. But after this, I will go back to it and just check in. You don't have to journal. You don't have to do a big meditation. That took me 1 minute or less. But just get present with yourself again. The deal with emotions and with feelings, especially feelings that we say we don't want, is instead of letting them speak, we push them away. We fight them. We put the label of bad or wrong onto the feeling. We resist the feeling. And I use this metaphor over and over and over again, and it's just so good, it's like a beach ball that we're putting in a pool, and we try to hold it down. But at some point, it has to pop up with vengeance. So if you wake up and feel a way, one, it's okay to just have a few days, a day, a week, whatever, where you just don't feel fully like yourself, where you don't feel bubbly or vibing, however you have as your baseline of how you kind of expect yourself to be more often. If you don't feel that way, it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. In fact, it means you're human. It means that you ebb and flow, right? You cycle, you experience highs and lows in the day, in the week, in your cycles, all of it. And it's all part of who you are. And in fact, you're more human for feeling the feelings, for getting angry, for getting sad. And if it sits with you, if the feelings feel like they're staying with you, then they have something to share. And so resisting them and pushing them away is only going to suppress them until a later time, a later day. When instead, if you can just slow down for a minute and just get present and just check in, it might not transform your entire feeling, your entire day. Remember, that's actually not the point. But the point here is to give your awareness back to yourself and to ask what it is that your mind doesn't know. The wisdom of the body is so powerful, right? I do tend to trust that if I feel low, it means that my body is processing something that my mind doesn't even know needed to be processed. And I very much believe this. If you feel something, it means that your body is dealing with the processing, especially if it's lingering, right? I'm on, 24 hours of just feeling a little dull and heavy and sad. But I trust my body. I trust that there is some inner workings going on, and I can't have the same level of energy that I might desire because that energy is going inward and it's doing the unconscious processing for me. Our bodies are wise, but instead of trusting them, we dismiss them and we say, why aren't you performing the exact same way that I want you to every single day? But when you start to trust the ebb and flow, when you start to trust what you already know, then you can allow the true guidance to show you what is necessary, what is not, what can be released, and what doesn't need to be fought. Breathe and receive. Question and enjoy. There's nothing to be feared. There's no emotion that is not okay. All is well, all is well, all is well, even for you today. Thank you, inner voice. All is well. So, man, I thought I was going to do a really quick episode, but something to consider. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling a certain way, and you do not have to immediately go transform the feeling. You just don't have to. When you have the tools, know that they're always available to you when you're ready. But I would even ask that what would happen if you just allowed yourself to feel punk for a day? A couple days. Then if you asked yourself, your body, going into that space where you feel that feeling strongest, where you feel a little tightness, ask what it's needing from you. Ask why it's showing up for you. Not with the purpose of fixing it or transforming the emotion, but with the purpose of showing yourself that you're truly listening and being present and being aware. Because truly, it might just be asking you for rest and repair. So that is the difference between doing something to feel better and allowing the feelings to speak for themselves. Because the more, and this is the secret, the more present you become with your feelings, the more you allow them to speak through you, the more you listen to what they're asking of you, the quicker they'll move through you. And that is the beauty of it. You can allow your emotions and your feelings to move through and transform without having to force them to do it. And it's subtle because you're going to hear a lot about how to make that change. And it's all good information. It really is. Like, to me, I just think this is kind of more of the next level. We need to know and have the tools to be able to shift our energy. I have those tools. I also choose not to use them often these days because I just want my feelings to be there for me and to speak for themselves until I'm ready for the next phase of how I feel. And so the only thing is when it becomes, you might notice that it becomes more of a trap if you're resisting the feelings. If you're really present with them and witnessing them, you don't get stuck in them. But if you're fighting them and you're in that, and this is where I was this morning, I will say this, which is where my friend came in this morning. She's like, well, why haven't you asked your inner voice? I said, I don't want to. She said, well, will that help? I said, no. And it was a joke because we both know it would. So it's nice to have the reminder, because what she helped me remember and realize is that I was resisting how I was feeling. And so after my conversation with her, I was reminded, oh, I can just feel this way and I don't have to fight it and I don't have to think something's wrong with me and I can be with it. And that alone is like shining the light on it. And that's what's going to allow it to move out, because it feels heard. We feel things for a reason. They're important. And our bodies bring us experiences because it's important. So I'm here to listen. I'm here to receive this evening. I'll probably spend a few more minutes checking in with my inner voice, because that always brings me that sense of peace. And then I'll see how I feel tomorrow and the next day, knowing that I always have the power to have a radical transformation in how I feel if I desire. But it's not necessary. It is okay to be in a lull. It's okay to feel a little down for a little bit, and it's okay to bounce back. And the more we trust ourselves, the more we can trust that when we feel this way, it's not a forever feeling, right? We won't forever be stuck in any emotion, but we can let it express itself so that it can be released and we can move on to the next. I hope this was helpful and something that you can practice and experience on your own. I would love to hear, if you try this out, how it transforms your relationship to how you feel and how you expect yourself to feel. I hope you have a beautiful day, and thank you for being here, for listening, for sharing this episode. It means the world to me when you share it. Tag me on Instagram, anything that feels inspired to you. And here's to a year of being consistent and being really open and honest with all of you listeners. I so appreciate you. I'll see you next week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tuning In podcast. As always, if this would resonate with anyone you know, please share the episode. You can follow along with my journey on Instagram at Dana_Evans, or find me on my website at alignful.com.